this March study, the rates to take on the debt for those capital improvement projects are in here. Does that make sense? Or I'll be repeating everything I said. So the rates, that's the one we're primarily gonna work off this one. So the rates in the new gen include the CIP. Okay, the rates recommended by new gen include the money for the CIP, taking out debt for the CIP. Okay? Everybody clear with that? Okay. So then if we go to this larger spreadsheet, it'll have a lot more information on you, for you. The top one should be water. The first green boxes are today's rates. The yellow box is the new gen proposed rates. Blue box is March 22nd. The first orange one is what we proposed at the last work session. Just to refresh your memory, we took the new gen rates and we did not want to raise the rates on the citizens as much as were proposed on the wastewater new gen. So what we proposed in the water is a smaller increase on citizens, a larger increase on non-residents, and then what I've also done for you here is the cost of service delivery, which is also referenced in the new gen rate, but we've added in the 20-cent per gallon per thousand charge that SandPat is putting on us. So the numbers don't match exactly because water costs more today. So I've done that, and then we've taken and we've made, we didn't do anything, Robbie made a tool that we could plug in a few rates, a few of our highest user rates, and kind of get a general idea of the revenue that would generate. So if we take, let's start with the new gen. We need 8.9 million, and that includes the capital, the CIP. So the new gen rates would generate about 7.3 per year. So in this first year, that would leave us about 1.5 short. So I've gone and I've done several scenarios. The purple box is if we put everybody at an equal rate, that would leave us at about 2 million short. Brad had asked what it would look like to increase the commercial. So what I did was in city and out of city residential, 3.6% increase and a 20% increase on commercial. That puts us at about $700,000 short. Please keep in mind, these are big round numbers. We can't pull revenue on water in a heartbeat. We've got to make some assumptions. And then I did two kind of combinations of everything. The first one is 3.6% increase on residential in city, between 8 and 10% increase on residential out of city, and then about a 10% increase on commercial. That puts us at $700,000 short. So then you can see the same thing in the next one. We did a flat 5 and 10% increase. We can play with that in increments, and you're going to get 100,000 here, 100,000 there. So you guys need to make the decision if we are going to take the bite out of the apple all at once, if we're going to take a few smaller bites over a few years, how you want to proceed with the CIP. The new gen rate is what's going to support the CIP, debt on the CIP, which you have the CIP list here in your packet as well. Let's remember that we did not do any of the 22-23 CIP because we did not have money. So now we need to add that number to the 23-24. We're a little behind. We can catch up. And then the last thing in your packet is some comparable cities, which I think you saw that. I sent that out on Friday, but we have in-city rates, out-of-city rates, volume rate, in-city, out-of-city. Like you can see, Prosper is 50%, Bernie is 20%, Robinson is 10%, Beeville 76 and 34. And then if we take our area cities, Corpus, Portland, Ingleside, Port Lavaca, Kingsville, you can see the percentage difference on the base rates, 50, 25, 50, 50, 15. And then Corpus is a negative 39. There's got to be some variant with that. 25, 50, 50, and 21% difference there. And then the commercial is the second column. And then the same thing is down here on the sewer. So philosophically, do we want to try to get our cost of business, which is that $8 million, this year? I mean, that's the first question we need to answer. 8 million, 8.9 on water. Sewer is a little bit easier because we don't buy that from anybody, and that's 3.6. Do you want to increase the commercial as high as 20%? Do you want to make the increase on in-city and out-of-city equal? Do you want out-of-city to pay more than in-city like they do now? What are you comfortable with? Somebody give me something.
Like the water comparisons, was it any consideration made for the population size and the number of users per city that we're being compared to? Because just like Prosper, Texas, it's a population of 34,000 with 13,000 users. So their rates are going to be much different than ours, correct?
No, we have about 13,000 users as well, I think. Robbie, what was our number? It's right at 13,000 users.
Okay. I mean, but looking at numbers, they're going to be pulling more revenue in based on their population base, correct? Where they may need to, there can be variation on those rates because they're going to be having a higher tax base revenue, correct? Just based on the 34,000 population?
Well, our peninsula has a 34,000 population, which is what our CCN that we're required to serve. So the county as a whole is about that area, and then the number of users are about the same. So Prosper really is a comparable area. Okay. There's always going to be some variance. You know, they may have more debt on their water system or sewer system or anything. There could be any number of variants that we have that they don't, or that we do, you know, vice versa. But without getting a full financial service, all we can take is kind of the surface similarities.
So based on these cities, you're saying that they fairly compare to Rockport?
I would say that they are comparable cities in one way or another. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I have a concern of running out of the savings account, you know, keep funding things out of the savings account, our reserves and the utility, if we continue to run in the red. But how big a bite do we take off at a time is, I guess that's the $1 million question.
Sorry, I printed off, but I didn't get it. So I will also give you the reserve from year over year. Remember, we made the assumptions of the tax rate that we discussed and the utility rates that we discussed. So what you're looking at will be current year, end of year, and projected end of year next year. And you can see the increase, decrease in those reserves of all funds, not just the utility fund. I don't think I made copies for everybody. I think I just made one, but I'll give you those numbers as soon as Carrie gets back in them. So, but yes, sir, we will be dipping into the.
Do you know an approximate what the new gen study, what it costs to run one of those?
I don't have any idea.
Okay.
There you go.
50? 32.
And, you know, it's a little over a year old now, 18 months. So a lot has changed in 18 months. Mm-hmm. So, and I think it made assumptions, the March planning retreat made assumptions for an increase in water. And I think that the final one did not make those assumptions. So that's why the one in March was a lot higher. And if you'll remember, we budgeted at, I think, an 18% increase, and SAMPAC came through with a 20.
20 cents.
No, last year. I'm sorry.
Oh, last year.
I just walked in on the end of it, but I believe that the assumption was made that it would be an 18% and it was actually a 20. Don't quote me on that, it could be wrong. This year, it's a 20 cent per thousand. So at a minimum, we gotta recoup that much to make what we made last year.
It has been the practice of the city for
a lot of years to try to maintain a 6-month reserve in both utility funds and in the general fund. And that is not happening right now, neither in either. It hasn't happened in utility account, hadn't happened in general fund account. And I think it is a dangerous situation for the city to be in, and that we need to do everything that we can do to maintain at least what we've got now, which is somewhere in the vicinity of 90 days, I think. But to work that back up to where we have a 6-month reserve, because we know, because of the experience we had with Hurricane Harvey, that money goes away in a hurry. You can get some of it back from the federal government, but had we not had a good reserve at the time, we wouldn't have been able to pay people for a while. So we have worked on that. But my concern is we need to maintain those reserves as high as we can get them.
So as far as cash on hand reserves, things like that, if we're including the capital programs, you know, there's lag between when the programs are actually, thank you so much, built versus, acquiring the money. So there's a little bit of wiggle room, but not a ton. Okay, here we go. So working days on the utility fund, we're at 163 at the end of this fiscal year. And we'll bump down to 90 by the end of next fiscal year. It's just estimates. Too. You know, until we get our audit in and then our rates and numbers finalized, we won't have that. As a firm number.
So to clarify what we're looking at here, the projected fund balance summary for 9/2024, that's assuming we adopt the current proposed rates.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That is what was presented at the last meeting.
Which still puts us below target on some of these.
Yes, ma'am. So I did, just for clarification, I left natural gas out of this. I think y'all were very clear on kind of the philosophy of how we would proceed with natural gas. If for some reason we still own this system next year, we'll have to relook at that. But if we don't, I think we'll position ourselves very well for the sale by leaving that minimal. So I do not include gas in this discussion, if that's okay. If it's not, we'll hustle and I'll get you something real fast.
Okay. Not processed a little bit. We had a lot of information that
So all of this was emailed to you guys on Friday?
No,
by the
no, I
way.
just mean
This is
like what you're just saying in front of
yes.
everyone. So, putting it all together, say with the proposed rates that we have an ending fund balance of $5,478,816. Let's go to our CIP projects. Downtown water line replacement, we have not done that. That's alone $865,000. And I have a point to where I'm going with this.
I'm just trying to hear you.
Yeah. Austin Street rebuild, $3.5 million. This is stuff that we have not done yet that needs to be done. I'm coming from a point of view that when my area flooded, I had to deal with residents that were very upset because things were not being done because we kept kicking that bucket down the line. Things were not getting done because we didn't want to spend the money. We wanted to not, make a little increase on your taxes or have to do this because we were trying to help at that point. But what happens is we're not doing these projects that need to be done that eventually floods your homes or is not going to give you the water that our citizens deserve. These projects are not cheap. Things increase. So just looking at those numbers alone and how much these projects are that we're not even be able to accomplish, not even 3 of them would drain our funding if we had to do them, if there was an emergency and something had to be done. We have to keep our fund balance. We have to keep that balance, that reserve balance in there for that reason. And if we keep depleting it, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. That's where the numbers we have to start looking at in this situation. Is it, something that we want to do is let's raise everyone's rates just because we feel like we want to do that? No, it's because we want to make sure that you guys have every opportunity to fix your streets, to fix your water lines, to fix the water plant, to fix anything that we have to do to make sure that you guys are sitting comfortably and making sure that you guys are living the life that you guys deserve in our beautiful community of Rockport. These numbers I wish people can see and actually put together and understand that this is the reason why we have to look at maybe raising a couple cents on your rates. I guess it's more of a comment than anything. I don't really have a question, but it's a point that I want to put out there. I had to deal with it quite a bit in the last year. Very angry citizens that were not happy that we were not doing these projects because we did not have the money to do these projects. Where do you get this money to do these projects? It's right here. This is how we get money to do these projects. If people are willing to pay a couple more cents onto their water bill so they can get these streets fixed or get their water lines fixed or whatever the case is, I really, in my area, I can only speak for my ward at this time, they are not going to have a problem to do so. They want a solution to those problems, not pushing it down the road and not being those things fixed. So that's just kind of my thought process on it, on what's going on here.
To add to Councilwoman Haven's comments, kind of when I came into council, one of my priorities was to ensure that we were addressing our infrastructure. The way we address infrastructure is investing in our infrastructure, not doing projects that staff has brought to us and let us know what is needed, is neglect. We can't always do everything staff recommends, but we've got to be making progress. This shows we're not making progress and continue to reduce. So the other option is taking on debt, emergency debt. If we have an emergency, I don't want to say the disaster word. We're not going to do that anytime soon. But we can either pay as we go, which we have a lot of members of our community who think we should pay as we go and not take debt. So this is pay as we go, or we ignore the problem, choose to keep rates as low as possible, and still have the problem and have to take on debt. I would rather pay as we go to the extent that we can. We know we're going to have to take on some debt at some point to build out some of these areas that we've committed to do so, and we're going to have to do that. When you look at the CIP, and I look to you, ma'am, and actually you at both ends, these are your projects. These are the older portions of town, the outside fringe areas, the developing areas. They're paying as they go, as they build out for the most part. So, for me to represent my constituents, you know, I've got to advocate for the lowest rate possible, but also recognize that we can't continue to neglect the infrastructure of this community. So for me, a no rate increase is not on the table as far as I'm concerned. How we divvy this out amongst all of our different customers, I think that's room for debate today. The residents of Rockport own this system. It's an enterprise system. It's intended to be run as a business and operate as a business. And so I don't think that it's not equitable to have an inside-outside rate. I own property outside city limits. I was raised outside city limits. I pay those rates for my property outside city limits. It wasn't a surprise to me. The one phone call I received in the last 2 weeks was from one person who said that they were surprised to learn that. I don't know how we back that out or if we do. So I think it's okay to have a variable rate. How much, I think, is also open for debate. Our commercial users, I'm okay with them carrying a little bit better or different burden than the residential use. But anyways, I'll go on forever. But, you know, for Vanessa asking kind of where are we coming at, I think we did good work at our budget workshops. I think staff did good work. We reduced the recommendations. We brought down what staff had already recommended. And we proposed, I thought, something that was reasonable. There's obviously some members of the community who think differently, and that's okay. This is one of those things, we're not gonna make everybody happy. This hurts. These are real dollars, real people, real lives, and we get that. But the future of this community depends on us investing in our future. So it's either now or never, or next year, but I think we've been playing kick the can for a while already. So I'm prepared to not be popular if that's what we need to do to make some progress, but not completing projects is no longer acceptable.
Very much agreed.
I'll yield.
No, I think that was really well said, Danielle. I mean, I agree. I mean, I'm okay with looking at different rates. There's just no possible way that we're not be able to raise what we've been doing. There's just too much kicking the can down, and we've had too many things in the last couple of years that just have not gotten done because we just keep kicking that can, and we cannot do it no longer, and that's just not fair to any of you guys, any of the citizens. And so they've done their homework, they've given us the rate, so I guess we do have to discuss what are we comfortable with what we're gonna do now.
You have a recommendation on which of these options would be most acceptable?
So if I might draw your attention to the blue box, I guess it's the lighter of the blue box towards the end. It says it's I think the top is labeled combo of all. That gives minimal increase on your residents. It gives a little bit higher rate of commercial. The out of city increase is at the upwards end 10.9%, at the lower end 8.16 for the in-city residential. The out-of-city commercial falls into that lower portion as well. But if you look at the balance, I think that's our best chance to make it as painless as possible and make the most revenue to support the CIP. We're still gonna fall short. But again, there's wiggle room, it's an estimate. It's water. If we stay in a drought, our income is not gonna be pretty. Of course, we are going into winter. But I will also say that to make this model, we used February, which is our shortest month and our least usage month, so that we could have the most conservative estimate.
So then this would be the option with the title at the top, that is, which one?
Combo of all, just like I said, pointing it out, I'll listen to anything, just.
We have discussed from time to time the need for the city to maintain its infrastructure, and it's a concern to everybody. Our streets are getting in bad shape. We have a lot of issues going on that need to be dealt with. I met with a gentleman yesterday, and we talked about drainage problems in his area, and we have drainage problems going on all over town. And we don't have funds available from our reserves to take care of those at the time. And generally, they are large enough that you couldn't take care of them all at one time anyway, and you might have to have debt created for some of that. But we are not adequately funded right now in our reserves to take care of common problems that we have, and we're not talking disasters. I understand fully people not wanting to pay more for their utilities. I understand them not wanting to pay more for their taxes. I understand those things. But we owe it to the people that live here, and this is their home, and they're working here, and their kids are in school here, to maintain our infrastructure as best we can. And if that is the issue, that the item on this group that we've got right here that best suits our needs, I would be in favor of doing that. And I'm not excited about increases, but I believe they're necessary.
So, I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
go ahead. I'm just gonna make one comment. I guess what I'm, in the last council meeting, this one, I think what kind of turned this whole thing around into something that we kind of have to, I think is what, the reason why this workshop even happened, it was more of the discussion of the outside city limits going as high as it did. I didn't hear as many, the outside city limits is what the big issue that came out of the citizens. I think that was that was the complaints that I heard mostly from people. It wasn't just that the increase alone on them in city was the issue. So I'm not sure, again, I'm for trying to get these projects done. Again, I have to speak my word. I want them to give me an answer on because you guys, especially Councilwoman Riddell and Danielle, and you have some, but I mean, you guys have a lot of kind of the lines that it kind of sits there with the outside city limits. And so I'm not sure how you guys are feeling about that increase on them alone. So I think that was the actual big issue that we had, and the reason why we're even coming back to look at all these at these numbers. So I just kind of want to hear your guys' thoughts on those.
I understand, you know, I'm an advocate for needs versus wants. We do have needs here. They have been addressed. They've been identified. My problem is I would much rather support increase and shift toward commercial and have a zero division across the board for in or out and in city or out of district rates. So I would much rather see a commercial increase than to have any kind of division or variation between in city and out of district rates.
That'd be just for residential, the division, just residential, the commercial.
Yeah, I think out of district, commercial is commercial.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, we need to, I understand that increases, the inflation, you know, increases are necessary over time. I know assumptions have to be made on numbers often. I just want to make sure that when we're making these increases, they're justified. I know I haven't been on council as long, and I'm not as familiar as many of you. So I look at the data and I look at the numbers, and you know, I want to know what has been allocated out. You know, what has been done. If none of our capital projects were completed in the 2023, where can we reallocate that money? Is it there, or has it already been allocated away? You know, those are the questions I ask. And when I don't have fulfilled answers for that, I don't feel like I can make a justified decision to increase rates when nothing has been accomplished yet with the rates that the residents have already seen.
Okay, so last year we operated in a deficit and we pulled from our reserves. And then if we continue at this rate, we will pull from our reserves again. There's not project money allocated anywhere.
So if I may just ask for a follow-on clarification, the projects that were listed in the 22-23 that were not completed were unfunded,
Right.
Correct, yeah.
Correct.
So I just want to make sure.
No,
I
there
get
wasn't
confused
money
too.
allocated for
Right,
them.
so it wasn't that staff didn't do them, staff didn't have any money to do them. If I understand.
That's correct.
So, yeah, like I said, I look at numbers, I look at data. Pulling off the reports on ClearGov, you know, in the fiscal years 20 to 23, budget to actual, and I don't know where this money was utilized, what was in which fiscal year, but just looking at a 20 to 23, budget to actual, you have $7.4 million in reserves.
In the water fund?
And water and waste combined.
Okay. So
So-
if you guys want us to dip into those reserves to
So
do
what is
projects,
what is our current reserve balance?
our current reserve balance projected at the end of the fiscal year would be $7.2 million. Or 163 days, which is 17 days short of our goal for reserves. If we go forward with the proposed rates, our utility fund balance will go down to 5.4, or 90 days, an additional then 90 days short of the reserve policy that we have been following. So that $7.2 million, for that to be spent on projects, you have to direct me to spend that on a project. I don't have access to just go spend it. Because we have a reserve policy. And our accounts have to be,
I think it might be beneficial on this spreadsheet to explain how to read it.
okay, sure.
If we, I mean, it took me a while to figure it out.
I'm so sorry.
It's
I should have
okay.
been more considerate. So we have our unaudited beginning balance at 2022, our projected revenue for this fiscal year that we're in right now. That's the second column. Our projected expenditures, and then our estimated ending balance. So if you look at this 1, 2, 3, fourth column, these are our reserve accounts in every fund. Ending this year, so supposedly ending at the end of September. Now, there's wiggle room, things will change, numbers will come in, bills will be paid, audits will get complete. This is our best estimate. And then the days of working fund balance. So if we have a catastrophe tomorrow in the natural gas fund, we got no money. We're negative 42 days in the reserves. So y'all are gonna have to go borrow some money or cut off some gas, I don't know. Don't quote me on that, I've never been in that situation. The bottom column, the bottom row, I'm sorry, has the exact same columns, but projected for next year. So if our working days is going up, that means we're contributing to our reserves. If it's going down, we're taking from. So on natural gas, we're at negative 42, we'll go to negative 39. So we're
In the last column, that's your over/under based on our
right,
policy.
based off of our goal.
Right, okay.
And the expenditures, that's not including the CIP projects. We're just making sure that's,
We do not have fund balance based on CIP projects,
yeah,
that's
so-
correct.
Yes, that's not on, those are additional onto what we're
Right,
spending
we
on
don't
that
hold
sheet.
reserves for CIPs. So if y'all put in $10 million worth of CIPs, we do not put 180 days worth of reserves based on a specific project, because that's gonna be one and done, or if a catastrophe hits, we're not gonna do it. So no, that does not include CIP.
So we want to look at, so we're just going to put the numbers out here, because I don't think, you guys in the crowd are not seeing these numbers. So
I'm sorry?
They're not seeing the numbers. So right now, our ending fund balance for this year is $7,289,614. If we go with the proposed rate that we even rate, which was upping this out of city rate to 10, the 1.5, and in city by 20%, we're still going to be losing our fund balance down to $5,478,816, which leaves us to 90 days.
Right.
If we continue to go down that road every year, just so we don't put money into that, every year it's gonna be another 30 days and another 30 days. And then eventually what you do is you see the negative 42, and then we don't have money if there's a catastrophe and we can't fix any of these issues that we need to fix. Those are things that we have to think of. It's not just today. This is why we call it a 5-year plan. It's today and tomorrow and the next year. Those are numbers that we all have to really look at when we're looking at the numbers and how we're setting our rates and how we even set our tax rate. I just wanted to make sure everyone can read those numbers out loud.
Yeah, and sometimes we talk in the terms of stuff, but these are human heads too. This is our operating, correct me if I'm wrong, right? This is the people who run the system, this is the vehicles that they run.
Right.
So when you look at disasters, in that first couple of months after the event, there will be grants and opportunities that come that will help fix stuff. But in the gap period is how do you keep those heads? How do we continue to pay those salaries and keep those people on payroll? That's what that disaster reserve, we can't call it disaster, but that's what part of that reserve balance helps to do. So it's not about going out and breaking a water main and having to fix it. It's paying the people who
Partially.
hopefully can keep their
Yes.
job, because it just makes a much worse situation when people don't get their paycheck. So I want to make sure that was clear. It's not
It is.
just stuff,
No.
it's employees.
And your reserves are just operating expenses. If you're going into that mode, you're cutting the fluff. You know, Gene's not gonna be mowing parks if there's a catastrophe. He's gonna shutter up the mowers and not buy gas, and, you know, people are gonna be moving logs instead of mowing grass. So we cut it down to the bare minimum if you are dipping in reserves for a true reserve need.
And if I recall correctly, last year, we had, and I don't remember when, but we had a very long conversation about our reserve policy. And we looked at the days, and we had, if I remember correctly, the former director of finance, we had her go look at other cities in the area and comparable sized cities and look at what their reserve policy balances were. And we weren't way over the top. I don't remember all the details of that conversation, but in some ways, we did do some diligence on verifying that our
market study.
policy made sense. It wasn't just an arbitrary number that staff came up and said, we need 160 days. It was based on some general. Yeah.
I believe there was quite a few that were the 90 days, there were quite a few that were 180 days, and there were some that extended out even.
I worked for a city that had an 18-month reserve. So if you budgeted something, you did 1.5 times whatever you budgeted, because it was an 18-month reserve. They were entirely sales tax dependent, and they knew it could end tomorrow. So you take your risk and you weigh where you need to be. And that made sense here. Potential.
I understand the importance of the reserves. I understand the importance of the CIP project. I would like to see that those be prioritized.
You'd like to see what?
That the projects be prioritized on need first, or greatest need. I think that we all understand that there has to be an increase, but we have to now discuss where we place that increase. That's the decision that has to be made. I don't support doing out-of-district rate increases. I think that it should be shifted on to a commercial basis and an equal distribution of that increase across the board for residential.
So get just clarity, because when I read this sheet, I do see it prioritized because it's spread out over the years. So I may be reading it wrong, and y'all help me. And Brad and I are the Aggies on the crew here. But when you look at the years that it falls, that would show highest is the earliest years, lowest priority is the years further out. Am I reading that right, Mike?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
It's
that's how it
based
works.
on need and lifespan.
Yeah, life safety,
Now-
use, property conservation,
Right.
and age infrastructure.
Now, some of these smaller items appear, the general replacement, that's kind of just
We roll those in the
spread
budget.
across. Okay.
So, if I'm hearing Stephanie correct, and the rest of the council, everybody understands we probably need to do an increase. It's just where do we get that increase from? On the increase commercial, I guess I was the one that brought it up, so I'll speak to it. The 20%, if we do something like Stephanie says, and Robbie, I don't know if you're able to plug and play numbers live, but if you were to make the in-district, out-of-district residential equal, but then increase commercial even more, or what I want to do is chip away at that number at the bottom, so that we're not continuing to run in the red.
Sure. So right now, we have basically, out of city is 40%, for the most part, 40% higher than in city. You want to increase in-city rate to equal the out-of-city rate.
I'm thinking more of along the line of commercial.
So you want to leave the difference between in and out, and then just increase the commercial, because then that would be,
You already have that one.
so if you look at the red box, increase commercial,
Yes, ma'am.
it does increase out of city 40%, in the city 16%, and the commercial up 40%. So that's, I mean, we can toy with that.
Jeff, does it give you way too much heartburn if I say that, to raise commercial rates? If we're trying to attract, if we're trying to attract, I'm sorry, we're in a workshop.
Well, of course, we all know that
Well,
one
my
of our
concern-
issues
Yeah, my
is-
concern is, I mean, one of the values of this community is our small business owners.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not sticking it to some big corporation. This is the small business owners in this town who will be impacted the most. I'm not saying they shouldn't be, right? Let's be clear. I'm not saying that they can't bear some of this, but to put our entire CIP
On the
on
backs of
commercial, that doesn't seem right either.
Yeah.
Unless we had some kind of debarkation between small water users, large water users, but then we'll probably get hit by them and say it's not fair and equitable either, so I don't.
Do
we don't have any big,
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we have a large?
the pool.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we're our own best customer.
Rob Peter to pay Paul.
Right, those are big users.
I think the situation is generally that we have talked over the last year and a half about how important it is to get new commercial businesses in here that can help offset the cost of property tax to the residential people in town. So when we're at 83% residential and 17% commercial, it would make sense that we need to get more commercial business in so that we can make that a lot closer to what the national or the statewide average is of 60-40 commercial over residential. We won't get there because we're a community where people live. We're not going to get large companies in here. But a lot of the businesses that we have that we're talking about changing their rates are people that live here. So we're changing it on people that are conducting their business here. We're proud to have them here because it's an asset to a place that has tourism as a priority industry that we have going on where we make money. It's good to have the local people here with their businesses open, but also to include finding ways to get other people to come in here. I don't think that the increases that I see on here are enough to run people off. I don't know that somebody will say, I can't keep my business here in town because my water rate went up so high. But I've heard other people say that my rates on my house have gone up so high, I can't live here if it keeps going up, and they haven't gone up that much over time. So I know that it's a problem for some people, whether they are in business or whether they're residential. But we need to keep in mind that we're trying to encourage businesses to come in here, and we don't want to discourage that by what we're doing. On the other hand, it's also important that we get our ability to deal with catastrophes back up to where it should be, and getting our reserves back in shape to me, it's vital. I don't want it to appear that we are not financially stable in our town. That will affect your lending rate if we need to go out for bond issues. Our bond rate will be affected by the stability of our financial situation in the town. So we've got to take care of the problems that we know we have as best we can, or look at having other problems on top of what the
taxable value is and what we can bring in from that, we're gonna have to look at problems coming up with the loan rates to take care of some of this capital improvement stuff that we know is gonna be large expense enough that we're gonna have to get bond issues to do it. So we've got to find a way to come out as equitable as we can with businesses and residential folks, but we don't want to discourage either one if we can help it, in my opinion. Other questions? Anything else for the workshop?
No, sir, if y'all want to give me some direction, some more concise direction, we can plug some numbers in. Can you bring up your tool?
We decided already that the gas service is not in these numbers anyway, so.
If y'all are fine with it, I'm not discussing the gas service because
I think that Brad's suggestion on that the other day was fine.
Right.
That is reasonable, and I think it's something we need to do.
So there's two other items on the agenda that we're not discussing, and those are increased rates for tap fees. We're losing money when we go make a tap, so Mike has done the calculation to our cost, and then we put a 10% administrative on top of that, and those fees are pretty well delineated, just cost plus 10%. So, yeah, that'll be second reading, so it's on the agenda, but the two that we're really looking for are water and wastewater. So if you look on the screen in front of you, are you running it, Kimberly or Robbie?
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
I think if you're looking for directions from me.
Okay, great.
I was waiting, Daniel.
Tag
I
your-
know, I agree. I mean, these ones on here that are getting us down below $1 million, to me, that's the goal. All the scenarios hurt. I think the one you talked about with regards to the combo of all, it is a little bit more on the in-city than what we originally proposed at our budget workshop. So I think there's a little bit of renegotiation, if you will, to put more on the city residents. It still is gonna cause or call for an increase for the outside city. At the end of the day, you've got a bigger service area. To me, it makes sense, and it increases the commercial. And actually, I'm glad that recommendation was put in here. Honestly, I didn't even probably consider that as an option when we went through budget workshop. So I'm leaning more towards the combo of all, but I'm willing to talk through that. But what I really like is the fact that we're under $1 million on that bottom column, as we are with the increased commercial. And there may be some other variations of the scenarios. If Brad, you want to throw some numbers, you're really good at making a numbers call. But you know, in Councilwoman Rangel, I'm by no means I'm picking on you. You voted no on the last, so we're really looking at you to say, if you got a recommendation, let's throw it out there on the table. I mean, I'm not a yes or a no right now, but you can't just be no, no, no and not bring a solution.
I agree.
So that's where I'm at.
So the combo of all does not change the increase on the percentage outside of city pays. It keeps the percentage increase the same across the board.
Okay, sorry, I see that now.
On the, so I'm gonna look between my recommendation or spitball in here, combo of all and the increased commercial, so kind of a mixture of even those two. Bringing the residential in and residential out, bringing those closer, and then putting a 20% on commercial in and out.
Okay, you're going the wrong way.
No,
'Cause
it
right
would-
now,
it I would increase the in-city residents more than 3.6%,
No, look at the blue one towards the end.
the combo of all.
No, I
That's a
think,
12% increase on the city, 27% increase on in-city commercial, 12% increase on out-of-city.
no, what I think he's saying is taking the increased commercial at the 20% adding that to the combo of all, and then taking this and lowering that.
This is, geez.
I was like, you explained it pretty well.
Okay, let me get the right sheet.
Ma'am, you gave us 2 pages. One's water, one's not.
Nah. Okay. All right, so. I'm listening.
Okay. So,
Thanks.
you got it.
You want to go 20% on water,
Yes, ma'am, I'd say on the commercial, in and out, the 20, and then close the gap, of in and out, residential, which may mean more than the 3.6% increase on in.
so
Does that get us to the red column?
it is the red column,
That's
which
what
says increase commercial. It keeps the same rate of increase on in-city and out-of-city. It keeps the same differential between in-city and out-of-city and puts the 20% on commercial. So that's the red column.
On mine, I've got,
Yeah. I think
Not the
what-
end red
Can I-
column,
can I jump in?
sorry, 3 from the end.
Okay, so I think with the combo all, and this is kind of what my thought process as well, is that we could increase the residential on that one. Maybe not go as low as the 3, like say, just like a example, the 3.6% in the outside city limits on the one. Maybe not have the whole 10%, maybe do like half, like a 5%, and then add that. You know, so it's increasing a smaller amount for them and not such a large amount at once. And then we can make that up on the commercial on both of those inside and outside residential. Does
Okay,
that
so
make sense
you
what I'm
want to
saying?
increase the in-city limit rate 5%.
For the, I'm talking about commercial only. So we'll start with commercial only. The inside and outside, if we kept that at that, say that 20%, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now let's talk about the outside and inside residential. Maybe splitting up, instead of having that full like 3.6%, maybe, you know, since we're gonna up the commercial 20%, maybe we can down that a little bit. What numbers would look like if we did that?
Okay, well, your whole is gonna be bigger than
No, I know it will be big, I just wanna
728,000.
know what that would, I'm just trying to, I know we're gonna be deficit wherever we do, I'm just trying to see what would be a less burden, you know, if we can do smaller chunks out of that amount every year instead of just doing such one large amount. That's kind of where my thought is.
Okay, so you wanna take the residential down to like 1.5?
Well, what was the percent, I mean, whatever that, I'm just trying to make it a rounded number.
Is there
You know,
a way
half
to
of that,
do
and
this
half of that.
same format, but plug and play, where we can look at all of this?
Yeah, they
as
have
we
it.
suggest?
They have it. And they'll do it,
Yeah,
just don't get too far in the weeds with them.
no, that's why I was trying to make it a rounded number, just like just make the smaller chunks out of the raise rates.
Okay, they'll do that right here.
All right, what are you?
So she wants the residential in and out, a 1.5% increase. And then the commercial stay at 20% increase?
The outside, I'm not saying 1.5, I'm trying to decrease both of
Okay.
those residentials.
Right, in and out residential
By half of what we,
at 1.5.
what we proposed.
What you proposed at the last work session?
So the 3/4 inch, like, I guess I'm just gonna explain this because I'm not saying, so the 10.38, the 10.38%, right? You see that number?
Give me a column.
Like, on the combo all, or.
Got
what
it.
that column is, taking that number and cutting it in half.
3.6. Cut it in
No,
half.
that'd be like 5, it'd be like 4 something. Or 5 something, yes. I know this is, okay,
It was 10.38?
yes.
Okay, give me one moment.
Does that make sense? And then increasing the commercial still at that 20%.
I understand. Out of the city limits residential, we're gonna cut in half.
Yeah, just giving a rounded number right now, just to see what
That's
we'd
fine.
be at.
In the city, you're gonna leave at 3.6.
No, I wanted down theirs as well.
Okay, can you start at the top?
Undo.
So the 3.6, let's just keep it at what we had, you already have the column in there, the 1.38. Keep it at that, the 20%. Do you already have it in there? Is that easier for you to do, or what is easier?
If you'll tell me a percentage of in-city residential,
So that's,
commercial and residential, we're gonna have to do something different.
Oh, they're wanting to parse.
Yeah,
what is half the
So-
3.6?
We don't have that.
so give me,
Put
We-
5%.
if, but this is
For
gonna do,
in-city, put 5% residential.
this is based on in and out of city versus residential versus commercial. We didn't do
don't
one.
have a blend.
We didn't do a blend of those. So if you will, take about a 15-minute recess, we can try to make one.
If we can.
No, if you guys can, I'm not gonna.
So I mean, I appreciate that staff brought forward an option for us to manipulate numbers in here. This was sent to us on Friday. Vanessa, you emailed us, you asked us, is there anything else, any other scenarios we wanted? Not saying we're stuck with this, but these are good products. Playing with numbers is, now we're just playing with numbers.
I agree, it just, when you go into a council meeting, it's just sometimes those things hit your head and you're like, I gotta change it up, yeah. No, I understand
I'm
what you're
with you,
saying.
but
Yeah.
this is, I don't, I mean, hey, you're welcome to ask for what you'd like staff to do.
I
but
do
don't
understand.
think this makes sense. to
So
us.
we've been at this an hour. Maybe the mayor could give us a little bit of a break and Ms. Hatman could explain to Robbie and Kimberly what she would like to see, and we can have that after the break. Is everybody okay with that?
That's what you'd like to do, that's fine.
No, it's not what I would
Let's
like
come
to
back
do.
in
I'm
here
just
at
trying to give you
20 minutes
options.
until
No.
7. That's late. Yes, it is.
I didn't realize it was
Take
that.
10 minutes. We are back in workshop session at 6:41.
I will start. Okay, thanks. I did not ask them to continue doing those numbers. My question was, with even doing a decrease in the residential and staying with that increase with the, commercial, it's not gonna make much of a difference, because I think you guys had answered it because of the residential makes such a large amount compared to our commercial, correct?
Right, so the answer to her question is that the commercial cannot, it can, I mean, you're not gonna like it, but theoretically, the commercial cannot offset a decrease in residential, because you would have to take too big of an increase, or what I would say was probably an untenable increase in commercial to offset the residential, just because of our ratio.
Thank you, that was.
I haven't seen, it may be in there buried somewhere in the spreadsheet, but I didn't see that number before, but that makes it pretty, or much more clear that we wouldn't catch up with commercial.
Right.
Not unless we did something really ridiculous.
So I'm again looking for direction. I am hearing two different things, that you like the red box, the increased commercial. I'm hearing that Councilmember Rangel would like an equalization between in and out. Somebody give me something to work with.
I have sat and looked over these, and as I have said before, and it's no secret, I am very concerned with us being able to get our reserves back where they need to be. Looking at these, I see some benefit in several of them, but the one that I had looked at earlier that I feel is most appropriate is the combo of all, and I'm in favor of that as it stands right now.
Okay.
I would like to see the commercial slightly increased on combo for all to bring the out of district down.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
On the combo for all, being able to bring that out of district down by even if, trying to find a fair median between bringing the out of city rate down by increasing the commercial.
Out of city
I don't know that it will
residents.
be equal to in city, but it needs to be reduced.
Out of city residents only, or both residents and commercial?
Just out of city residents, if there's a way we can find that by reducing the out of city residents.
Okay.
And I know that we're not gonna meet I don't believe it's gonna be an equal rate to in-city, but I do feel like it needs to be reduced. And if we can offset some of that reduction onto commercial.
So, Stephanie, if I may, let's look at the combo of all. Commercial in and out, if you do that at 20%, like the increased commercial one is, the one to the left of it. And then you could drop your outside city, what would you want that percentage to be?
Well, the increased commercial has the rate, if the commercial is all sitting at 20%, I mean, it has a 3.6 compared to combo of all sitting at 10.38.
On commercial.
So I'm saying more like, if I can't win it all, I want to win something at least. That's the thing. We have to come to a compromise. We're sitting, it seems like the majority had a combo for all, but that still keeps an increased rate of out-of-district residents. I would much rather see a shift of 15% on commercial in and out to offset some of the increase that's being subjectified to out-of-district residents.
Okay, if I may, we're raising all of the in-district commercial at 10%, and the out-of-district commercial did not quite go up that much. So if we put them all at the 10% and do all commercial up 10%, the highest raise in out-of-city residential is 10.91, So we could see what it looks like to back everything there down to the 8.65.
I'm okay with seeing if we can do something in that area. I'm all about compromise, I agree. We can maybe do something to lower that a little bit for them, that burden. So I'm on board. Again, I like the combo of all. If we can lower a little bit and raise just a little bit on commercial, I don't know if I'm willing to go all the way to 20%, because that's quite a bit of a raise, but just a little bit more burden on them and a little bit less on the outside city, I'd be okay with that.
I agree. If the inside city commercial is at 10, the outside city commercial should be at least 10. And it appears in the combo of all, it's slightly under in some categories.
Right.
That
is not gonna make up a lot of money.
I didn't figure it did. Because, I mean, and the other thing, you know, when I'm looking at this, I mean, the shock and awe is like, oh, you know, it's X amount of percent. And I get it, it's a number, but then when you look at how many pennies that really is, you know, you're looking at a $3 raise per month for the smallest water consumer. It is $3. $3 matters. It's $3 over 12 months. It's impactful, but I think sometimes when we hear percentage, it makes it sound more scary. And while we're compromising, you know, I think we need to make the language make sense, right? I mean, it's a $3 discussion versus a $2.50 or a $3.50.
Right, so if you look at the one next to it, the increased commercial, you're doubling the commercial rate, and you're only gonna make
50,000 extra.
less than, yeah, out of an $8 million budget, so. I'm happy to do whatever you guys would like to see. I'm with you on, we need to talk, when we're talking half percents and percents, we're talking $12,000. And guys, would you pull up that average household bill as well? We're talking cents and dollars on a bill, as opposed to.
We also have to look at it year over year. Rate increases should be considered as well, though. You know, so if we increase them 10.38 this year, you know, even the proposed rate for in-city residential was 3.63%. So now you're going to give them a 14% increase in 2-year term. So it should be looked at dollar to dollar, but it also needs to be looked at impactfully over a course of, you know, set of years, what you know, increased percentage is going to be resulted there.
So we can look retroactively and we can see what the change was last year compared to this year, but our action today has nothing to do with next year's action by future councils. So is there a trajectory? I think it's reasonable. I mean, every cost of everything is continuing to increase. Is it reasonable to assume we're gonna have an increase next year? Probably, but we can't speak to next year.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying I used them as an example of a 10.3% increase. I would like to see that much lower because our rates will continue to increase year over year. But implying, I just don't support the variation in rates. I understand that, like I said, you know, we're not going to be able to shift this onto commercial fully, but I also do not support such an increased rate for out of district. I would personally like to see that come down to be more fair for the in-city rates. I even know we may not be able to meet an equal rate on that, but I would ask that it be considered that the current percentage of increase be lower today. And how we offset that, I don't know, but that's my recommendation.
Do you have a number you want to look at for that percentage?
I mean, without seeing it in front, you know, the plug and play option, I mean, we can look at 12.5% commercial, 15%. We won't know what the revenue is from that and what, you know, we're gonna have under without being able to see it on the board. So we can toss numbers around, but where are we gonna be able to be provided a result in front of us so we can actually see that data? I don't know.
So Mayor, if I may, what I'm hearing, and obviously this is not a vote, but I believe I've heard everybody lean towards the increase, somewhere towards this far right, increased commercial or the combo of all. I'm hearing most everybody, I think, agree that that lower bottom number is the target. So can we move on at some point? And we can keep working those two, but I think if we say all the others are off, we can hone in more to what your ask is, I think.
I think that it's likely that if we look at the numbers and don't change and make us lose more than what we have as the bottom line on that combo of all, by adjusting either commercial, residential, one way or other without lowering or raising that bottom number, I think we could probably come to an agreement on that.
So Kimberly is about to plug in across the board commercial of 10% and an 8.65 on out of city. And she'll give us a number in 30 seconds. Should I do that? So we're doing it. Okay. And then you'll have to map it and tell me what the difference is. Brad's gonna open his candy and chips.
I didn't know how crazy it was gonna get.
We're just waiting.
What'd you bring us today?
I got sweet tarts, mini chewy mixed fruits.
That'll work.
Pass around.
Kimberly will get hers when she finishes.
It's a
hers.
12-ounce bag.
She does it right.
Everybody gets two.
Well,
We're not supposed to do math.
If you're in the city, you get one.
Lord.
Excellent.
Now you know how to open it. There we go.
I'm saying,
firefighter, I'm confident you will get it open.
We can do this.
Thanks, sir.
That's good. There's a dinner.
It's not poison.
Thank you.
Here, would you like some?
oh, sure.
I thought he wasn't gonna give you any.
I don't wanna get you this.
You guys are making me eat candy way more than I ever have.
Staff over there looks so sad, look at him.
I'm gonna make my way over there.
Like Donna,
Oh, I
like,
was fixing to go help them out. Since you're,
I've never eaten so much candy in my life since you all got me.
It's salad too, which is really good.
I guess we need the what is it? Sugar.
You've lost control, sir. You've lost control.
They're passing out candy
Yeah.
and waiting for the numbers.
clearly math takes a little longer than I thought.
Well, it's gonna take less time than every council member doing.
What did I do?
What? Huh? Nothing.
She told me I lost control somewhere along the way. I said, that's candy.
Now you're just throwing it at me? I'm not gonna eat it right now.
I'll eat that.
That's just
5 seconds.
yuck.
Sure, man. Not just one.
Yeah, this is just.
front row?
Right.
So the lady in the front looks like she needs some.
Gonna beat you up.
They're not like M&Ms, they don't melt in your mouth, your hand, my hands get purple.
Everyone has candies, we're happy now. Everyone has their candies, we're happy.
You wanna know how my week's been going? I'm sorry. So you wanna know how my week's been going?
How many more? So much. Oh. Oh, fun. That's awesome.
Think about what could shut you down. So they came today. Big ones.
Kind of basically residential on the healthcare preparedness. It's changed. Maybe it's just more than here. I want to say somebody from the outline. No, that's just on the other side.
Marion Dodger. Shoes for measure. We have a plan now before I versus when I had him to residential versus commercial. She's the only one that we're interested in, but this comes up to freestanding. Everything myself.
Okay, that brings us a revenue of
I'll take, we have a meeting
7.59,
next week, I'll take a look.
Seven,
Struggle to keep.
which is going to put us in the range of $1 million short, a little over.
Your goal is
Two.
but still over $1 million.
That was commercial at what?
Huh?
That was commercial at,
At 10.
That's what, all the commercial at 10, and only raising that outside of city limits, 8.65 across the board.
So. I mean, we knew that there was gonna be an increase in that number because all you did was lower the out-of-district rate, but there was no offset on increase elsewhere within that.
So
So,
you want to increase the in-cities?
well, I mean, I thought we were, I had said to shift that onto commercial. Where would that put us back at if you shifted a percentage onto commercial even slightly above 10 at 12.5?
So in and out at 12.5?
I would
mean,
be
if
okay
that's
with
what's
going up.
gonna bring our out-of-district rate down for residents.
What, Brad?
I said I would be okay with 15 on the in and out for commercial.
I would support 15.
15, if that gets us closer to the combo of all number, the bottom line number. I know it doesn't change much, because 20% only got us 50,000.
It has us bring us lower than $1 million currently, where we're sitting with a plug and play though.
So that brings us, up to
7.7 million, we're still basically 1.2, 1.199, so
And that's at the 12.5?
that's at 15%.
That's 15 on all commercial.
So basically what we're getting at is commercials just can't sustain regardless of the numbers that we're putting. That's the answer.
There's just not enough commercial. Your commercial is
It's 20% of our usage.
13.55%, yeah.
There you go, plus.
On the increase, on our worksheet, the increased commercial at 20% got us to 7.28 in the hole, or I'm sorry, 728 in the hole, versus on the combo, 778. And that was with the least amount of increases on.
Are you doing,
City
outside.
and outside.
are you just doing outside on the commercial, or are you doing inside and outside?
Inside and out.
Inside and out.
Okay.
So if we did 20%, inside and outside commercial, and left the others the same, it brings us to 7.8 million, which is still 1,000,093.
That doesn't really make sense because the increased commercial line you have at the outside residential is at the lowest at 3.6, and that still gave us 8.1 million. If we kept that at 8.6 on the combo and up that to 20%, how is that lower?
So I know that I've talked too much and said too much already, but might as well keep digging the hole. These scenarios were sent to us. We had every opportunity over the last few days to ask them to plug additional options in. When I looked at this, I looked through the various compromises from what we presented. Well, one, what staff presented going into budget workshop, what we collectively drew down as a basis of those conversations, and then these new scenarios. The combo of all increases the inside city users from what was originally proposed. It significantly increases commercial from what we significantly proposed, and it reduces the out-of-city burden that was originally proposed. Not saying necessarily a month, but it did. I think this combo for all achieves a lot of what we've been asked to do, including of staff who put this together. And I'm not asking anybody to blindly follow staff. I'm just saying we've had a chance to review this and provide for additional options. Everything that I've heard so far is minor dollar shifting, and if the goal is to get us as close as we can out of the hole, when we're still literally about to take, or potentially taking a vote to be in the hole, we're still $778,624 below what our target is. So this will be my last statement on this until we close out this workshop. But I think the combo for all is a compromise to the compromise, and it's a decent of the worst is the best I can come up with on that. If others want to keep doing this is fine. I'll sit here all night with all of you, and I appreciate the conversation. I'm not trying to dominate or force anything. We've had time to look at this, and we've already asked staff to come back again and again. So I'm ready to move forward, Mayor, and make a decision. No one's gonna be happy with it, but I'm ready to make a decision.
I have said the same thing already. I don't want to keep going further in the hole on our reserves. I want to get them as high as we can, as quick as we can. We're not gonna do that in a hurry. We won't do it this year, we won't do it next year. But I appreciate what everyone has said, trying to figure out ways to make things what they think is more equitable. I don't see how we're gonna get that done. I am still inclined to do the combo rate as it is presented, and I can't get further than that. That's what I'm willing to do.
As I'm seeing it, the combo for all, I'm not willing to go all the way up to 20% on the resident, or on the commercial. I don't think it's fair to put all the burden onto the commercial.
Yeah.
So that's why I can understand where you guys are coming, the combo fall kind of works. I understand that people understand it doesn't work for them, but that's what's gonna work for us not to be dipped so much into our reserves. And if it's not gonna make a big difference on these numbers, even if we plug them in a couple percentages below, I mean, I'm fine with sticking with it. I'm not seeing it making a difference for us to keep redoing these numbers into our fund balance. I'm not seeing a difference for us to keep doing that. So, I mean, I guess that's where I'm sitting at right now.
Okay, any other comment on that?
No, I just stand by, I would prefer there to be a slight increase on commercial to offset. Looking at the increased commercial block, you have a 3.61 residential out of city at a 20%. I would much rather see us reduce the 20% closer to finding a median between the 10% proposed on combo of all increased and then the 20% of increased commercial in order to lower the out-of-district city resident rate.
Brad?
I guess, when we just put those numbers in, I'm confused on why it didn't change as much as we wanted to, whereas on this, if we just did the increased commercial.
We've factored in the usage as well. The ladies are doing,
And that wasn't,
sorry, Ron and Kimberly are doing big math fast. It is incremental either way. But this factors in usage as well, average usage. So that's why the shift is staggered or tiered as opposed to just equal. X here equals Y here, it does not. Because X here equals A, B, and C here.
the combo for all works for most, but I understand where Stephanie's coming from on trying to decrease that burden on the out.
Right.
Where you shift that burden.
What is the direction to me right now?
I'm just not seeing a difference where it's, I'm gonna sit here and just keep going, let's do 2% less, let's do 1% left. I'm not seeing a difference on the actual ending balance. So it's, for us to keep sitting here and just going back and forth and having this conversation and keep getting the same end answer, it's either we're gonna do combo for all or it's gonna have to be, I just don't see taking 2% away from the outside residential and adding 2% to them. They're saying the numbers are basically the same. Obviously, you have to make a substantial amount to commercial to even make a difference, is what I'm seeing on that. The little amounts are not going to do much, is what I'm understanding, correct? If you're going to have commercial make that difference up on the outside, it's going to have to be a substantial amount. And if, some of us are not willing to do that, so I mean, I guess that's where we're at with the situation.
Are you, got all the answers you need?
3 combos for all, so we're gonna prepare an ordinance for that. If you can vote on it tonight, if we double pass something tonight, we will be in a special session every 3 days until we have something.
Okay, how much time you need?
Nope, hold on. Wastewater, you just said it all. I'm gonna propose that we go with the same combo for all, 12% for residential in and out, 27% for, non-residential, and then 12% on the ones that are not connected to city water, only receiving sewer. It's the least in the whole besides the increased commercial at 40%, which I think we've already decided is probably a little steep. I guess we could do the mix down here. I'm not comfortable in that mix number though. I'm comfortable in the combo number.
What's the issue with the mix?
No, it decreases it. I guess it's just, again, the uses it in the outside residential. Inside.
So for clarity on the combo, it's the same for inside as outside, for residential, and it's it's the same for inside and outside for commercial,
Not the same
but two
rate,
different,
it's the same increase.
same increase,
Yes,
sorry,
ma'am.
yeah. So,
You said you're not comfortable with the mix.
No. I threw that, you know what? I'm not. I did that last minute and I didn't have time to put in the usage in that one, so you're gonna have to nix that. I'm so sorry. So you basically have the same choices except for the final red one. That you have on the other one. If we go back to the new gen or the planning retreat, you know, the planning retreat numbers gave us the best outcome, which was a 16.2% increase across the board.
what I recall from the work session was our intent was to try to keep the rates as low as possible for our residents. So if we go combo, again, that gets us to a pretty healthy compromise with a pretty substantial increase for inside city users. So it doesn't make me happy if, you know, my number one responsibility is to the people who live in my ward. But if that will soften the water blow, I mean, I think it somewhat makes sense. Understanding I've got a pretty substantial chunk of my ward that doesn't receive wastewater, so I'll defer to those that pay that.
I think on that one, the planning retreat numbers actually make more sense versus the combo. Or am I interpolating that incorrect?
My recollection was that we were right happy with that number at the time we did it, planning retreat. I have no problem with that.
Overall, it makes sense until you look at a 16.2% increase for your residents.
Well,
Versus 12.
and they did
Right.
not put in usage, I can tell you that. They just did the base rate.
I gotcha.
And we calibrated the increase amount on the planning retreat and the new gen. No, new gen went all the way down. I don't remember, I'll have to look, but I don't think the planning retreat did. They just gave you a base rate and we extrapolated out the percentage.
On the planning retreat one?
Yeah.
We're saying so we
They
would,
did not, right, there's no usage in there, it's just, base rate.
do you have a wag on which way they would swing that number?
Nope. Not a bit.
And in the combo rate, do we have a usage plugged in
Yes.
there? We do.
That's correct. Anything past work session proposed is gonna be drilled further down and have the usage. So, I hear combo from Brad, or I did not, or I did that.
I was going with the planning retreat, but now I'm not so comfortable with that number because the usage isn't plugged into it. So I don't want to say, hey, let's use that number and then come
And
to
those
find
are
out.
somebody else's numbers, and so I'm not confident in saying this is what you should go with,
But you're comfortable with the combo.
okay?
Yeah, I said you are comfortable
You are
with the combo.
comfortable.
I'm more comfortable with that.
But the mix we need to nix the furthest right.
I'm gonna tell you though, remember, these are big numbers. Numbers are gonna start coming in. You know, it's gonna look different. We can adjust as we go. We're taking the biggest usage categories and extrapolating those out. We're not drilling down the exact usage of every category, and we only took 1 month of that. So it comes in and it's not 3,594,000, it's 3,200,000.
You'll still hear about it. It's okay.
Okay, no problem. I can take it, so.
Again, it comes down to, I mean, we're still in the red, so, I mean, I guess the most comfortable number here in the red, even with our work session proposed, we're in the red 281,000. If you do the combo, it's only 87,000. So I'm more comfortable with that number than the,
The combo includes our 20% pass-through as well, whereby the new gen and, I know that
those are lower.
we did not have that at that time. So we go with the same one for both? Kimberly, how much time do we need to plug these numbers into an ordinance? Just give me 15 minutes, maybe in the back. Okay, great, she'll take 15 minutes, but we can go ahead and start the council meeting if you want.
Okay,
We can advance, I got you. We can advance the bottom three rate ordinances for gas and the two flat fees. We can talk about the budget calendar. Rob, we can talk about our,
certified appraised rolls, which we have not received, and then we can come back to Kimberly to keep this moving if that's acceptable to you guys.
does anybody need a break before we start the regular meeting?
You just had a break and candy.
I realize that.
No.
Yeah, I would like to use the restroom.
Okay. You'll take 10 minutes?
I need that. I don't need full 10.
We could take 5 minutes, and just quick restroom.
so we're taking a break?
Can we have
We're gonna-
7.5? Can you plug that number in?
We're taking 7.34 minutes, something like that.
I
10,
got formula.
we'll be back 10 minutes. It is 17.
I'm sorry, that was fun.
Of our regular council meeting session. First item on the agenda is citizens to be heard. This time, comments limited to 3 minutes to be taken from the audience from persons who have signed a speaker's card located at the table in the back of the training room of the service center and delivered to the city secretary before the meeting begins, or written comments received by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting on any agenda item or any subject matter that will be read in the meeting. Persons wishing to address the council and who have registered using the citizen participation form will have up to 3 minutes to speak. In accordance with Open Meetings Act, council may not discuss or take action on any item that has not been posted on the agenda. While civil public criticism is not prohibited, disorderly conduct or disturbance of the peace as prohibited by law shall be cause for the chair to terminate the offender's time to speak. You've got one.
Patrick Kane, 1123 East Cedar Street, Rockport. Do you believe you need to set just and reasonable rates for out-of-city utility customers? I believe the city attorney confused the matter when he spoke at the last meeting about sections of the Texas Water Code that are not applicable to the city. To eliminate any confusion, section 13.043 is applicable to the city of Rockport. It gives the Utility Commission appellate jurisdiction for customers outside the city limits, and it requires the Utility Commission to ensure that every appealed rate is just and reasonable. What is a just and reasonable rate? I believe you'll agree it is: 1, recovering the added cost for serving customers outside the city, and 2, earning a reasonable return on the city's utility investments. Councilperson Hatman asked what it cost to deliver services outside the city limits, and she never received a clear answer other than it was addressed in the rate studies.
I reviewed 10 of the city's rate studies and none calculated this cost. The only clarity I received from the rate studies is the city is content with using the out-of-city rate surcharge to plug deficits in its budget. If I were an investment company and offered the city council a 50% rate of return on the city's investments, I'd be accused of being a con artist and running a Ponzi scheme. 50% is clearly a ridiculous proposition, yet that is what the city wants from its out-of-city customers. I'm pretty sure any investor would be content with a 10% rate of return, and you will find that it is the amount of the out-of-city surcharge for Leander, Mansfield, Robinson, and many other cities. Please do the right thing. Treat all customers fairly and equitably by either eliminating or severely reducing the out-of-city rate surcharge.
Okay, Danielle.
Vicki Brignon, she's at 209 Sand Dollar Circle on behalf of Sea Oaks Village Owners Association in reference to utility surcharge increase for Fulton property owners. No surcharge for Fulton residents.
Thank you. Stephanie?
Jacob Morgan, 1919 Highway 35 North, Rockport. Agenda item to be heard, utility rate increase, hikes for those outside annexation. Hi, I am a Ward 1 citizen. I pay cheaper utility rates than my neighbors and co-workers because they happen to reside inside Aransas County but outside city limits. How is this legal? It isn't. I am no law scholar, nor does this ruling apply since they are in different circuit than Texas. However, I would draw your attention to State Utilities Commission versus Carolina Utility. The Supreme Court granted of North Carolina ruled that any settlement agreement wherein out-of-city residents paid higher rates than those residing in the same county, yet within the city limits, violates the constitutional against arbitrary and unreasonable discrimination. This will outrage your county. It is unfair to force annexed residents to pay more to meet their basic needs. Some of these cases are impossible to annex due to agreements forced upon them by settlements with Aransas Pass. Some in Fulton are not able to annex as well. You have sold the natural gas pipelines that we bought in years prior due to issues maintaining it. This shows the importance of cities to remain out of utility rates. Inflation affects all of us. It shouldn't result in politicians playing favorites and forcing groups of people to spend more. Don't be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Don't break your back your residents into a corner. Don't go knocking on doors forcing people to pay more because of where they live. It's the 21st century. We are better than this racist profiling.
Thank you. I have 3 cards from citizens to be heard. First, Andrew Kane. If you come up, give your address and your name. Got 3 minutes, sir. Sorry?
Is the clock gonna show? Andrew Kane, 2106 Lakeview Drive. 3 weeks ago, when we heard about the 1.5% surcharge on out of city, 4 people complained. Last week, over a dozen complained. The agenda was postponed to supposedly address, can the city justify charging 50% more? And there's not been one shred of evidence, fact, or detail of what it costs tonight to give the out of city people. I don't understand how y'all postponed this workshop to justify the surcharge and nobody's justified anything. It's because you don't have it. Last week, your advisor stated some of the sections of the water code I'd referenced did not apply to municipalities, and he is correct. That said, there are sections of the water code that do apply to municipalities, specifically to protect out-of-city users, and the Public Utility Commission does have jurisdiction over this. That was confirmed briefly by your advisor last week. If you choose to charge the 50% extra for services to the out-of-city customers, you will be in violation of state law. First, we will need to get a petition, and that will get us to the PUC for the hearing. It's not a matter if the PUC will rule on this, but when. Choose wisely tonight, because there are paths provided citizens and they will be taken. The rate suggesting to go up from 38 to 50% was just tossed out during a workshop by the city manager with no data or justification as to why this was needed or any facts to back it up. When questioned, the city manager laughed and made a snippy remark. If they don't like it, we have annexation paperwork for them, which was followed by a roomful of laughter by y'all and the city staff. That comment and y'all's reaction is on audio video, and that recording will be played to the PUC who reviews it. The PUC exists to protect the citizens and make sure rates are not prejudicial, unfair, and backed up by actual cost associated with finding services. I will tell you the new gen study the city manager referred to in the last meeting never addresses the need to charge out-of-city customers more than in-city, nor does it show, discuss, or describe any increased expenses to deliver these services to out-of-city customers. So again, we wait for that question to be answered. Where is the data to show the additional cost to deliver these services? Let's be honest, you have not seen or been shown any because the staff doesn't have it. By state law, and even stated by the Austin Assistant City Attorney, this can be and will be viewed as an illegal tax, and damages plus attorney fees will be sought after and recovered by the citizens. Set the rate the same for all users and avoid this mess. Not just avoid the embarrassment and possible expenses, fines and attorney fees you will be facing because it is the right thing to do. We didn't hear tonight an example. If we set out of city and in city the same rate, what does it do? What it does is it lowers the out of city people 50%. It's going to raise the in city people 5 or 6%. Let's see that data. If the revenue is the same and you get there legally without taking advantage of the out of city customers, let's be honest, who in here can defend charging 50% more when there is zero data to support it, that there is any additional expense to do so? All I'm asking you to do is do what is right.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. Kathy Kane.
Okay, Kathy Kane, 109 Boardwalk. So I oppose 150% usury charge for non-residents. I am a non-resident. I asked and have not yet seen any analysis on why it is justified to charge non-residents a significantly higher rate. Cost of delivery of these services is being paid for by all. My proposal and the questions that we've asked has said, why are we asking you non-citizens to pay more? I've looked at your numbers that you've shared today. I'm still not even sure which one you're going to propose because it's very confusing, but 86% of your total water users are residential. Of those, 56% are in the city and 44% are out of the city. You're asking 44% of your resident users to pay for your use as an in-city resident without any justification. You can't tell me it cost me 25 cents more to deliver that to you. You can't tell me it cost me 5 cents less. You don't know. You're making numbers up without substantial information, and that is not right. That is not what you should be doing. As a resident, I would have the option to not vote for you. As a non-resident, I have no option other than come up and listen to you and have this information that we've asked to be given to us, and it's not given to us. That is taxation without representation. That is what our country was founded on. And you, as council members, are required to ask your city to give you the information that you need to make just decisions. I have not heard that today. I've heard numbers thrown around. I've heard, well, if we increase this by 2%, then that still doesn't give me the number I need to get. That's their job. That is what city staff is supposed to do. And you gave clear direction last week to give options, and you didn't get it. I didn't hear it, I didn't understand it, and I deal with big numbers as part of my job every day. All we're asking is that if you're going to increase one citizen higher than, or increase non-citizens higher than citizens, that you have fact to base up what you're doing, and you don't have that. That is a sad, sad story to tell today, and I'm very disappointed.
Thank you, Ms. Kane. Kristie Rutledge.
Kristie Rutledge, 1411 Dana Drive. I'm here, I signed up to speak on item number 7, 8, 9, and citizens to be heard, but because of your arbitrary rules, you're not going to follow your ordinance, and I won't get to be able to speak on all of those utility rate increases, and each one of them is a separate subject, because it's a separate utility, and you have separate budgets for them, but I just want to put it on the record, I'm going to be prohibited from speaking on those tonight. I want to tell you that there's a lot of information that doesn't make sense. I attend a lot of your meetings. I was here for your strategic plan meeting in March of 2022. I have the handouts. I recorded that meeting because it wasn't recorded. And you had a plan for 10 years of capital improvement. And in that meeting, you assigned, you directed council to, the staff to assign the $2.2 million unspent bond fund from 2007 to your wastewater treatment plant, and 2.6, or I hear it's $2.8 million to your wastewater treatment plant rehab. To date, over a year later, and you adopted that last summer. That's adopted in your capital improvement plan. And on day one of the workshop, your city manager said, any project that needs to be reassigned in your capital improvement plan, you have to vote on it. And you have not voted on that. So we have no idea what these utility rates to support the capital improvement plan are actually paying for. Now, I've gone and looked at your budget, and you know that I do, and so I'm just gonna read off a few things to you, okay? You have $1 million worth of maintenance that is going to water meters for new developments. And that is what has increased the budget. In your proposed budget for 23 and 24, $1 million has been removed from the wastewater treatment rehab line. And it's now just put down to 1.8 million instead of 3.625. We keep kicking the maintenance down the road like we did on the natural gas utility because we're taking on new development faster than you can keep up. And your staff, and I don't know because y'all refused to record the entire workshop day one, asked for a moratorium for a very good reason. Because you've only spent $53,000 of that $3.6 million that you assigned to the wastewater treatment plant this year. And now I'm hearing that that's just fun money and that we just got to keep raising more revenues by these utility rate increases. So while your revenues have gone up 17% on your utility, your transfers from non-departmental outside of your utility have gone up. Just give you a few numbers. You have $4.6 million worth of transfers out of your water, wastewater treatment fund every year. Only $1.8 million goes to debt. The rest goes to general fund. And so we got a problem. These increases are not justified.
Thank you, Ms. Rutledge. Next item on the agenda, item number 4, deliberate and act on second final reading of an ordinance repealing Chapter 66, Article 2 of the city's Code of Ordinances entitled Minors Curfew, providing for repealing, savings, and severability clauses, and providing for an effective date. Been any changes since the first reading?
No, sir.
Okay.
Move
Do I
to
have any
approve item
questions?
4.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call for a vote. Ward 1? Aye. Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Passes unanimously. Item number 5, postponed, August 22nd, 2023. Deliberate and act on second and final reading of an ordinance amending the City of Rockport Code of Ordinances, Chapter 102, Utilities, Article 2, Water Service, Division 3, Service Charges, by amending water rates for all customers, providing for the validity of said ordinance, repealing all prior ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for an effective date. If substantial changes to the proposed ordinance are made, this will serve as first reading of said ordinance.
So if you could skip 5 and 6, please. We'll take those up when the roll gets back.
Okay, when she gets back.
Number 7 is the gas, if you want to.
Okay,
And we did not make changes to gas.
we'll catch the other two when Kimberly gets back. Item number 7, postponed August 22nd, 2023. Deliberate and act on second final reading of an ordinance amending the City of Rockport Code of Ordinances, Chapter 102, Utilities, Article 5, Natural Gas Service, Division 3, Service Charges, by amending natural gas rates for all customers, providing for the validity of said ordinance, repealing all prior ordinances in conflict herewith, providing an effective date. Substantial changes to this proposed ordinance are made. This will serve as the first reading of the said ordinance.
There have been no changes made to that ordinance.
Okay. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
A motion to approve agenda item number 7 is read.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or question? Call for a vote. Ward 1? Aye. Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Passes unanimous. Item number 8, postponed August 22nd, 2023. Deliberate and act on second final reading of an ordinance amending the City of Rockport Code of Ordinances, Chapter 82, Solid Waste, Article 2, Refuse Collection, Section 82.39, Fee Schedule, setting new fees for service, repealing all prior ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for publication and an effective date. If substantial changes are proposed, ordinance are made, this will serve as first reading of said ordinance. Have been any changes?
No, sir.
Have no changes. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve item 8 as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further question or debate? Call for a vote. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
4?
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Passes unanimously. Item number 9, postponed from August 22nd, 2023. Deliberate and act on second and final reading of an ordinance amending the City of Rockport Code of Ordinances, Chapter 102, Utilities, Article 5, Natural Gas Service, Division 2, Connections, Section 102-517, Rates for Natural Gas Tap Meter Installation, by adding additional meter sizes and amending installation tap meter fees when a new connection has been made to the city's system, providing for validity of said ordinance, repealing all prior ordinances in conflict therewith, and providing for an effective date. Any changes since first reading?
No, sir.
If there are no changes, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion for number 9 as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further question? Call for a vote. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Passes unanimously. Item number 10, postponed from August. Got to wait for that one too? Till she gets back?
Nope, keep going.
All right, thank
I was
you.
just gonna tell you there's been no changes.
All right. Postponed from August 22nd, 2023. Deliberate and act on second final reading of an ordinance amending the City of Rockport Code of Ordinances, Chapter 102, Utilities, Article 2, Water Service, Division 2, Connection, Section 102-41, Rates for Water Taps and Meter Installation, Article 3, Wastewater Service, Division 3, Connection Fees, Section 102-246, Schedule of Fees, by amending installation tap meter fees when a new connection has been made to the city system, providing for the validity of said ordinance, repealing all prior ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for an effective date. There have been no changes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for item number 10 as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further question? If not, we'll call for a vote. Ward one?
Aye.
Ward two?
Aye.
Ward three?
Aye.
Ward four?
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Passes unanimously. Item number 11, discussion regarding fiscal year 23-24 city budget.
Okay, in the packet that was on your, at the chair, it was also emailed to you on Friday, I believe. I just highlighted where we are. We're on the utility rate workshop, special call council. So this will serve as the second reading for everything that we just completed, so those are passed and we'll move forward with. It will serve as the first reading for items 6 and 5. And then we will have on this 9-5 meeting, we'll put the second reading for those ordinances. So we will hopefully wrap everything up there with the proposed tax rate, first reading of the tax rate ordinance, public hearing on the budget, as well as second reading on the water and wastewater ordinance. And then we just finish this out as scheduled. So that's what we have left.
All right.
Okay?
Any question on that, council? It's not an action item. Item number 12, discussion regarding certified tax rolls from the appraisal district.
This is Robbie.
We still don't have anything in hand, only in hand, but on Friday we did call Mike Soto and asked him where do we end up on this? And he said that the rolls were electronically certified and that we should receive a hard copy this week. But that they were able to successfully defend the protest and basically the barrage of protests. And basically we ended up with an additional $26,539,982. So so the total amount for the taxable value should be $2,704,364,865. And how that, since we don't have anything directly in hand, we think that that's gonna probably bring in about another $77,000 for a split, about 46,000 for M&O and about 31,000 for the INS side.
Right.
So when we have those numbers in hand, we'll plug them into the budget along with these rates that we've discussed tonight. We'll give you an updated copy of the budget. You can see where we're standing. It won't be a surprise when we show up on the 5th. If we, for some reason, no, it won't be a surprise. You'll get it ahead of time. If you have questions, suggestions, whatever, go ahead and get them in, and we will do everything we can to get everything answered and addressed. It's just really putting us in a tight position with them not having those final numbers, and I don't know what else to say other than, I guess we could post a special meeting every 72 hours. So we could post a meeting on Tuesday, the 3rd. And post one on the 4th. Will we have one on the 5th? I'm gonna do that, just so we're covered. I'm gonna post a special call meeting basically every day next week, and we will cancel as we don't meet. Does that make sense? Okay.
Cancel as it, or we would need it if we don't have the certified rolls in hand. Is that what we're saying?
Well, if we'll get the certified rolls, we should have them this week. It's already Wednesday. I'm a little more concerned than I was Monday, but we'll cancel them until we don't, as long as we don't have certified rolls. And then if I send out the budget when we do get them, and all of you freak out on me, then we'll have a meeting so we can go over what the problems are or what the issues seem to be. I know it's not ideal. We're in a tough position. We have no recourse. We just don't. I've asked our lawyer 5 times and he's saying no.
So to clarify, the next week, not the 4th, Monday, Labor Day, but starting the 5th, we'll have a scheduled meeting every night that week. Am I looking at the calendar correctly? The 6th, the 7th,
right.
the 8th, the
The
9th.
5th is a Tuesday.
The 5th is a Tuesday, Monday, the 4th is Labor Day.
I'm gonna post it, because you know we have to post 72 hours in advance. So we will continue to post until it's not needed,
After the 5th.
after the 5th.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get clarity.
I'm
on.
sorry.
It's okay.
I was thinking the 5th was on a Thursday, and so I was the one off there,
It's okay.
but,
Well, so I'd also, strongly encourage, my fellow council persons, if you've got issues in the budget, that clock never stopped. I mean, we're gonna have the final plug-in numbers, but if there's
oh, yeah.
pieces in
Call
there that
us.
you already didn't like, it would be a lot better to give staff the opportunity to address those now than to wait for the 5th or that week after.
Yeah, we
Everybody
work
has the
on
right to do
every
it.
day.
I mean, everybody can bring it forward whenever they want. That's okay, and I'm not saying you don't, but I don't think it'd be fair to really any of us in our time if we weren't prepared for that meeting.
She's right, we legitimately work on the budget every single day, so if there's issues or questions, love to hear them.
Do we need to take any action on the two items we're postponing or passing until next meeting when we will have first reading?
No, sir. You're gonna have a first reading right now.
Very good. I was looking for her and didn't see her anywhere. I thought if you're ready to go home, we can do that.
The next meeting will be your second reading. So
Okay.
now you can go back and take up number 5 and 6.
All right. Okay, item number 5. Postponed August 22nd, 2023. Deliberate and act on this is first reading, on first reading of an ordinance amending the City of Rockport Code of Ordinances, Chapter 102, Utilities, Article 2, Water Services, Division 3, Service Charges by amending water rates for all customers, providing for validity of said ordinance, repealing all prior ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for an effective date. If substantial changes to the proposed ordinance are made, this will serve as the first reading of the ordinance.
I got it.
All right.
Mayor and council, the ordinance in front of you represents the option that you just chose in the work session in the blue box of combo for all. If you will look down them, I'm not gonna read them all, but everything should be the same. And I will entertain any questions. Sorry.
So, this may be just a more procedural, since the public hasn't had a chance to see the new ordinance for first read, normally we would be posting the minutes for the next meeting. Is there a way for us to go ahead and put this out there? And assuming we pass it, can we get this out somehow?
Absolutely, we'll put it out there tomorrow, we'll put everything out there,
Okay.
we'll get it somewhere. I mean, this seems fair.
Okay.
I believe that typically the city secretary, once they're signed, she scans them and puts them on the website.
Yeah.
I've never done that, but I will figure it out and get them up there.
She'll have the mayor sign them tomorrow, and they'll be up there.
Okay, yeah, I think given our timeline, it would be most prudent for us to get this out there, folks to digest and provide their comment going into second reading. Thank you, that's my only comment.
We will do it.
We have discussed this previously. Is there any other further question, comment? If not, I'll need a motion.
I'll make a motion for first reading of the ordinance for water service as presented in the handout.
Do I have a
Am I
second?
saying that? Do I need to read all this, Kimberly? You're giving me an ugly face,
As read.
but it wasn't read.
You read the caption.
No, as
This is the first reading.
Art's giving me a green light.
Go ahead.
I did it.
You did good.
I did.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further question or debate? Not, I'll call for a vote. Ward 1?
Nay.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Motion passes 4-1. Item number 6, postponed August 22nd, 2023, deliberate and act on first reading of an ordinance amending City of Rockport Code of Ordinances number 102, Utilities, Article 3, Wastewater Service, Division 4, Service Charges by amending wastewater rates for all customers, providing for validity of said ordinance, repealing all prior ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for an effective date. If substantial changes to the proposed ordinance are made, this will serve as the first reading of that ordinance.
Okay, just as before, this will serve as the first reading. Again, we plugged in the, combo rate that we discussed in the work session, and your second reading will be scheduled for the 5th for both of these.
Any further question?
I make a motion to approve agenda item number 6 as read.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further question? We will call for a vote. Ward 1?
Nay.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
Mayor, aye. Passes 4-1. Any further items for the agenda? Further comments? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Adjourned. It is exactly 8 o'clock.